Hello, welcome to Aashna. I'm Pritesh Raja Helm and I'm one of the co-founders of Aashna. Today I'm joined by the very lovely Lisa Cherry and our wonderful Jamie Crabb, and they're here to tell us a little about an event happening next year in February. Hello Lisa. Hello Jamie.
Hello.
Hi.
Lisa, it would be great if you could just share a little bit about yourself first and a bit about the event.
Well, thank you very much for introducing me as the very lovely Lisa Cherry, because I'm often asked, how should we introduce you? And I say, why don't you just say the lovely Lisa Cherry?
Yeah.
Because we get so caught up in labels and who we are and identities and job titles and stuff like that, that I just kind of think there's a sort of deeper existential question, isn't there, about who are we? Well, basically, as by way of some of those labels, just to give some context, I'm a speaker and trainer and author on trauma recovery and resilience, and that's really what I spend all my time doing and have done for nearly 10 years now. And previous to that, I spent 10 years working in education, and previously to that, I spent 10 years working in social work. So that's about 30 years now that I've been working around distress and recovery and healing, more importantly. And myself and Jamie decided to think about how we might incorporate within that context a workshop that helped people understand about some of that distress and about some of that healing and recovery that takes place across the life course, where there has been disrupted childhood events. And the reason that we kind of wanted to come together and do that together is because we both have that care history. We both have that childhood history of having been in care.
Yeah.
And certainly Jamie approached me, and I'm sure he'll talk about that in a minute, because in his field, he felt that it was an area that just was not known. There was just a distinct lack of knowledge when people were presenting around fractured childhoods and the particular nature of the care experience and how that impacts upon our narrative, on how we are built, if you like, on how we then develop our relationships, all of those kind of things. And so, of course, when Jamie asked me, I said yes.
And we're glad you did. Yeah. Jamie, do you want to tell us the title and a bit about the event? That would be great.
Yeah, sure. So the event's on Saturday, the 8th of February, and it's called Untold Stories, Understanding the Impact of Disrupted Childhoods. And as Lisa said, we kind of came at the collaboration, particularly through a meeting via the Care Experience conference that took place earlier this year. And I guess I was curious about the support, the therapeutic support that people who've grown up in care have or haven't got. What was concerning me, I guess, was that there wasn't really a knowledge, or there isn't really a knowledge of care experience and the various impacts of that, particularly things like stigma and why people wouldn't access services and amongst therapists, actually. And I mean, in my own personal therapy in the past, my therapist didn't really know about some of the things that as care experience people we experience in our lives.
I thought it was worth clarifying. You're psychotherapist and counsellor, aren't you?
Yes.
So you're talking about your experience having therapy, but also your experience with fellow therapists that you're working alongside and that you would have trained with. And I think that's really important, because while you were unpicking your own experience, you were around people who were unable to unpick that with you in a learning environment. And I think that's really fascinating, because if we can go some way to supporting people while they're in training, because there will be people going into training who have those experiences, and to not have that held in a way that we would want it to is potentially going to have a whole range of possible outcomes. One might be, I can't do this. One might be, I don't fit in here. One might be, I'm too much for people, which is part of that narrative out of care for some people anyway.
Right.
So I think that's something we can really spend some time doing on that day, thinking about how the whole area of training can be better equipped.
Well, I've known Jamie for a few years now, and I've known him post-training through him joining Aashna, and I've been really blessed, moved, disturbed at times with hearing his story and the impact it's had. And it was an untold story. I actually had no idea that this goes on, this has happened, these narratives are not told or shared or even understood. So I've learned a lot through him, but I know that I'm in the minority of that. And actually there is not enough out there to share this. And I'm just grateful that this is happening.
So that's really moving, you know, that opportunity to learn from that lived experience, because we know where there's unresolved trauma, the symptoms that come from that are the kind of symptoms that people will present across the board in terms of health professions, but also across the board in terms of healing professions, holistic therapies, therapeutic interventions. And if people don't have enough knowledge to know what's actually sitting underneath, then it's going to make that person's journey of recovery just so much longer.
This is a starting point, really, to start to unpick these untold stories, and then think about that in relation to, well, how does this inform then therapeutic interventions, or how does this inform how I can actually be available to people with care experience? You know, we're often trained in different areas of diversity, but this is one that's actually missed. Somebody said to me when I mentioned this workshop, you know, this is the workshop that you didn't even know that you needed to know or needed to attend. There'll be some space on the day to think about intersectionality as well. You know, the different way our identities will intersect in terms of race, class, and various other intersections.
I'm curious how you envisage the day might run and how you might facilitate these very important discussions.
The key thing is about experiencing. It's to come and experience the stories and get a real embodied felt sense. What does it mean to be removed from your parents at a young age? What does it mean to have files written about you that you don't necessarily have any engagement with? What does it mean to be stigmatized because of your care experience?
If there's an opportunity for people to contemplate the impact of not being able to be with a parent, and also to understand there might be many different routes into care, but the outcome is the same, which is that for whatever reason you can't be with that parent, and if you understand that, then when someone is presenting, for example, as somebody in their adult relationships who can't feel worthy and can't be loved enough, then that starts to make more sense. Or if you have someone who presents to you as, I can't settle, I'm unrooted, I'm moving around all the time. If you understand the care experience and understand that part of the care experience often is wiring children up at their developmental stages that are most rapid, with the idea that you can keep moving around and that you can sever. If you sever a relationship, you can get moved. You know what I mean? If you have that knowledge, then the story presenting itself to you takes on a whole new flavor. But if you don't even know that exists, how can you possibly make sense of, unpack and understand the presenting issues? It's not possible. So in the very least, we want people to really start to unpick what happens for people. How does that narrative unfold into adult life? What sort of things might adults present with who have had those experiences? What happened for somebody at the very, very beginning of their life? But if you don't even know that's what you're looking for, you're not going to ask. We can't know what we don't know.
I want to say thank you to you both for taking time to make this video call and tell our audience a bit more about the event. It's so important. I'm feeling really moved and have shivers just hearing about it. I just think this is much needed, and I'm so blessed that you both are able to do this for us at Aashna. Thanks, Jamie, for your initiative to make this happen.
And thank you, Lisa. We're so excited that you're coming to Aashna.
Yeah,
to work
really,
with us.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.